Right, I think we're nearly there, guys. To thank you for sticking in this with us, I'm going to hand you over to our commentators, hopefully for the last time. Scotty J, come in.
Yeah, well done in the studio there. We are, I think, getting set now. We have seen the course, and most of the spectator boats have left. You can see there, right at the top of your screen on the right-hand side of the course, just a couple more just to move back slightly. But what a vision we are looking at here. Rangitoto right on the right-hand edge, and we have seen both Ineos Team UK and Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli out there already, up on foils in good breeze. Maybe another sail change for Prada Pirelli before the start. 4 minutes, too late?
Yep, far too late for a sail change. Your decisions were made probably about 3 or 4 minutes ago as your last opportunity to put a fresh sail up, but those decisions are made. They're probably the right ones because they're the professionals, not you, Scotty. But what we are also looking at, 4 minutes to the start. Now, where's the breeze coming from today, Pete? What are we looking for on this race course?
Well, I think breeze rise, I still sort of like centre left to me. It just anywhere around Rangitoto Island, you do get a bit of a flow effect of the wind just going over the land, a bit of slowing, and often there's a bit of still a tidal push of the current coming out of the Waitemata along the Takapuna shore. So maybe the left-hand side looking for a bit of push heading up towards Takapuna.
Fans in full voice down on the viaduct today. True wind speed is something we haven't really covered off. Wind speed versus true wind speed. Phil Robertson, we're looking at some data on our screen right now. If you can maybe put this to the viewers and explain the difference between true wind speed and actual wind speed, or wind speed.
True wind speed is it comes up every now and then on the screen as the data, and that is the true wind speed that is flowing over the boat. So the wind that they're experiencing. So the wind speed and true wind speed are effectively the same things, to be honest. It's just their way of displaying it. They also have their true boat speed. Their apparent wind speed is something that's completely different again, but maybe we'll cover that later in the piece.
Having a look now down the course start. Remember, 2 minutes 10 port entry before the start. Italy will be port entry for the start. We saw some big problems for the starts yesterday, Pete Lester, in terms of the data that was coming through on the boat. Some complaints about that. They call it the race management system. Hopefully they have that sorted out today, but we saw earlier teams going back to the old-fashioned stopwatch just in case.
Well, that was the point Ian Murray made this morning at the briefing. He said, hey, look, they can get their heads out of the boat and use a stopwatch like they used to do when they were kids. But looks like we're in sequence, and it'll be Luna Rossa coming in at the leeward end of the line at 2 minutes 10 seconds, and they are right on time as they enter with Ben Ainsley, Ineos Team UK coming in from the committee boat end on starboard, and he has the right of way. Luna Rossa are required to keep clear, but it's a clear start, clear entry.
One thing I'm seeing, Ineos Team UK, 2 foils down the whole time here. Now that is because there's 2 reasons for that. One is either it's so light that they need both those foils to be lifting that boat up in the air, or they're about to go into a manoeuvre. But to be sailing that long with those foils down, there it is, coming up on your screen now. So something a bit unorthodox.
That is just for the stability, do you think? Make sure Ben Ainsley's into the start box safely before they start winding up.
Well, so it might be to just get a bit of separation. We have seen the boats, all of the teams practicing a slow foiling manoeuvre. In the meantime, right over on the right-hand side, you've got Luna Rossa smoking down that boundary. They're going to jibe, come back on starboard, and they'll aim just to windward of Ineos UK. This will force Ben Ainsley to make a decision. They are required to keep clear.
It is, and they'll put themselves in a position here, Ineos Team UK, in a vulnerable position. Luna Rossa Prada coming back on starboard now. Ineos Team UK, the giveaway boat here in this situation. Are we going to see another tangle up?
Prada on starboard tack.
Yeah, 50 to go, so now it's about time on distance. One more manoeuvre for Ben Ainsley. Spins the boat round onto starboard in front of Spittle on Luna Rossa. Still got 39 seconds to go.
So in this situation, Ineos Team UK, the lured boat, they have right of way. They can luff Luna Rossa Prada if they get close enough to them. Luna Rossa Prada keeping clear, 30 seconds to go. They're above the start line. This is getting interesting. Ineos Team UK are probably going to be starting down near the pin end. Luna Rossa Prada going for what we'll call a wide right start. So that is starting on the right-hand side of your competitor, the windward side, wide to right.
That's the committee boat end that Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli is on. Still 7 seconds before the start though.
Yeah, a bit early for Luna Rossa, and now both boats pointing at the pin end of the line. It's going to be Ainsley winning this one. Off the line, it's a good start. Are we looking for any penalties? I don't think so in terms of over the line early. So down to leeward, it's Team Ineos, Team UK. To windward, it's Luna Rossa. And we look at the relevant boat speeds, it's pretty close. What Ben Ainsley will try and do here, this is a good drag race test for the GBR team. Can they actually influence Luna Rossa? But that boundary line is coming up pretty quick, and then they have to go back to the centre of the course.
Luna Rossa Prada trying to hold them all the way to the boundary. They're slowly creeping forward now. So what they want to do, they want to stay there until Ineos Team UK have to tack, and then they're going to slam dunk right on top of them. Let's see if they match this tack move here.
Pretty set move by Luna Rossa, starting on the right and forcing the action to the boundary. Once at the boundary, it just the pendulum strongly goes back to Spittle. In fact, steering the boat now will be Francesco Bruni, because they do the dual helmsman role. But Luna Rossa off the line, good start. I thought had better pace off the line, but when it came to the first manoeuvre, certainly first advantage to Luna Rossa.
Yeah, they just clear air there, Ineos Team UK, but that lead slowly getting bigger and getting further behind. This is their weakest conditions as well. The bottom end of the wind range, 10 knots at the moment on the race course, and I think it's still positive signs we're seeing.
Ineos Team UK now trailing by 80 metres, and we saw going through that tack off the boundary as well. And Ineos Team UK now tacking again.
Tacks are expensive. And that
They are expensive.
You can just watch the speed wash off on UK. They drop down just on 20 knots. And it is Luna Rossa matching, coming back, but it's a net gain. The Italian boat has shot out to windward, and it's about when you pick your moment to tack. So the first tack by Ineos UK was they were compromised. They were getting bad air coming off the trailing edge of the mainsail of Luna Rossa, tacked away, down speed tack. But for Bruni, he could just extend on, get the boat right up to speed, do a very VMG or a fast tack, and we can see the net gain to Luna Rossa. And I think Luna Rossa, to be honest, Phil's got better speed on this first leg.
Yeah, early signs looking at it would say they've got wheels, especially in these conditions. That's talked about as their strongest conditions as well, being the lighter wind range. And coming up to that boundary again, the telling point here is Ineos Team UK going to get to this lane line? By my eye, it doesn't look like it. That's why they're attacking now. They're going to go 2 more and into that top mark. Luna Rossa Prada with one decision to make here. Do they keep going to the boundary and tack? Do they hit them and stay in the same patch of water? Or try and go and just do one more tack into that top gate?
That's Francesco Bruni. He'll be the
They're setting up. They're setting up now for the tack. So Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli.
I think they're looking at ley line from that far out. They went as far as they could to that ley line on the left, and they will have picked up the opposite tack angle, and that was quite a big angle tack there. I wonder if they tacked in a little bit of a quiet spot. It'll be interesting to see if Luna Rossa have actually picked up the ley line to the top mark gate.
I don't think they got there, and they could have pushed. You can see the top mark just coming into screen now. I think they could have pushed a little bit further towards that boundary, just to make sure of it. Just to be clear, we're going to make this lay, but they've gone tight. That means both boats doing 2 more tacks into this top gate.
What Phil Robertson is talking about too is the ley line. You can see those red lines leading into the circles at the top gates, and you've got to be on those, otherwise you do have to tack again. For those of you thinking, why don't they just go straight for the gate? It's all about the angle you can sail upwind into this breeze. Sail any higher and they won't be going fast. So finding the perfect angle is what it's all about when we say laying the line.
One tack to go, and I don't think they would have got that ley line from so far out. So they go one tack and in, and they're set up for right-hand turn.
Big advantage gain too for Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli. They sailed upwind very well as they head through gate 1. And they'll round that left-hand mark as they look upwind at it. So the lead stretching out over 200 metres. And the clock will be on as they come round the mark at gate 1. A catch-up job now for Ben Ainsley and Ineos Team UK.
Yeah, not a lot of options when you're following the boat in front of you into your top gate. So his move here is either a jibe early or he just matches. He just follows him, jives where he jives, tries to keep the pressure on. But when you're 300 metres behind, that's not really pressure. You're not putting the heat on them.
And this is, we've talked about this over the last couple of days, Phil, and there comes a time where helmsman will have to roll the dice at some point in these races. It looks like he's going to stay and follow at the moment.
I don't know if he had a lot of options. He was on ley line to the right-hand gate, and for Ben Ainsley, it's just about getting around that mark and trying to get downwind. For me, Ineos Team UK just to look a little bit compromised in the slide here. What have we got now? We've got about 13 knots of true wind speed. That's one of the harbour marks that they go by. So Ben Ainsley on board. Boat looks a little bit sticky.
Yeah, that was your mainsail trimmer running against the boat. So he ditches the mainsail, runs across the boat. Ross is first. Ben Ainsley drops that foil, leaves the wheel in a second, and starts running around the around the back of the mainsail. While Giles Scott on the windward side of the boat, that's the left-hand side, he's driving out of it.
That lead now stretches out past 400 metres. There was a time coming now before GBR had their drive where their boat speed was comparable, if not faster, than Luna Ross's. But just the way these two teams are sailing and the advantage that Jimmy Spittle has. Yeah, it's apparent now with the speed on your screens that they are certainly enjoying this advantage downwind.
Well, also around what I've found is that Luna Rossa loves these conditions, not unlike sailing in Sardinia and boats occur, I must say, in these conditions. People from the Med, they like to monitor it, and I think Luna Rossa will feel very at home sailing down the Rangitoto Channel to Mark 2.
Just a reminder, the UK since you've left first with victory. Luna Rossa, Prada Cup, 2 wins. So far, will make it 3. If they can hold on and barring disaster.
Yeah, correct. Going another dive now. Pretty standard line here, not bad. With foil coming up out of the water pretty quickly, pretty smoothly as well. So they'll be happy with that one, and then it's going to be tough and they come back on.
Ineos UK heading still across on Port Jibe. What's interesting is that these boats, no spinners, and that boat's almost the same upwind when they are downwind. For me, I just look at what leg they're on, and of course it is uneven numbers downwind on gate 2, so we are heading downwind, but typically the apparent wind is the next wind that the boats are feeling. Because they generate so much speed, the wind can drag all the way forward. The geometry and how that works is so different to what it was. Last time saw boat spinning because it goes back to 2007 in Valencia and changed. That's a touchdown here by Luna Rossa on that job.
Well, the warning came too. Jimmy Spittle said might be a bit soft out of this manoeuvre. They knew that might be coming as they head towards gate 2.
Looks like a good 1.5 2 lengths left mark. Copy that.
So they're talking about on board there, 1.5 2 lengths left mark. So they're looking at that gate we can see on the screen. That's on the right hand side. For them, that's the left turn. He's saying there's a 1.5 2 boat length advantage turning left.
Let's watch the turn now as they come through gate 2. Leg 2 of 6. Completed by Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. Turning upwind for the second time in this race. 6 legs, it's a course 6 as it's called. Out here on a course that had to be, well, it's a late change really for race director Ian Murray. They originally wanted to be on course C, the inner harbour course that we saw over days 1 and 2. They had to move out further and then out further again as they look for the right breeze. Jesse Chook is at the bottom mark and has just seen Luna Rossa go round. Talk us through this one from Team Ineos UK.
Yeah, Luna Rossa looking really strong, but Ineos Team UK have just gone through an absolute shocker of a jibe. They had both foils stuck in the water, and they are dead right now. They are going absolutely nowhere.
Oh, they've turned fully around. They are stuck in the middle of the course, Phil.
Oh, when you're sailing a foiling boat, this is one of the most painful situations you can put yourself in. You are jibing onto your last lay line into the bottom gate. You drop it off the foils. You have a bad jibe. Now you've got to rebuild. So you have to point your boat away from those marks where you're trying to go. Let's look back at that replay. Nothing spectacular. They just got a few things wrong, ran out of power, dropped the boat out of the sky. They were keeping those 2 foils down to try and give them lift, but it's also creating drag, slowing them down. Now he's sailing across the course, trying to build speed. He's not going to get to that bottom gate on this jibe. Slowly building speed, he's going to lift up on the foils and he's going to have to do another jibe. So let's try and stay with him and see if he can nail this one. Otherwise, it's going to be a very painful afternoon.
Finally bounces up, but any chance that Sir Ben Ainslie had of decreasing the gap has well and truly gone. I'm going to try and lay the line on this jibe.
Well, again, that's an illustration of how this boat is handicapped. It does not like the lighter conditions. It does not seem to be able to stay on the foil. I think when they actually went through that jibe, the rudder elevator ventilated, so a bit of air got down onto the elevator. The boat then went down bow forward, touched down, and at the bottom mark gate they trailed by what, 2:19.
Yeah, that's when your lead goes from 500 to 1,500 metres, and that also is your race that just goes out the window. I don't think we'll be seeing that from Luna Rossa Prada.
Well, the race as we know it is done, but the fascination is still here. And we're just going to have a course change as well. It looks like they will end this race at the end of leg 5.
Which will be an upwind finish. And certainly the intention was to have downwind finishes, but leg 5, uneven numbers, of course, are upwind. And that is a course, it's a shortening of the course, in fact. And of course, Ian Murray now under a bit of pressure to get the races completed this afternoon. And effectively, really, Scotty, this one is pretty well over because of, I think, superior boat speed by Luna Rossa, but also that touchdown by Team Ineos UK at the bottom mark just really takes them out of the game. And that'll be incredibly frustrating for Ben Ainslie and his team.
Yeah, let's talk about Luna Rossa Prada. Italian team, word on the street, really good in the light airs. As Pete mentioned earlier, Mediterranean sailors, a lot of light air. They spend a lot of time in that stuff. Being a Kiwi sailor, we hate the light airs. It's bloody boring. You're going slow, it's not enjoyable, but it's when it's the only conditions you've got, as these Italians face, you become quite good at it. I think they're looking pretty on form here, and it's going to be quite interesting to see how they shape up against Emirates Team New Zealand in the last race of today.
Yeah, it's worth hanging around for that one.
They sailed. They didn't have to sail against anyone coming down that first downward beat. Right? But the first leg, you watched how Jimmy Spittle covered the moves when he needed to, got out to a good advantage. They sailed well. They stayed on their foils. They got through their manoeuvres. I mean, it was pretty much 100% quality sailing from them, doing exactly what they had to do.
But Scott, it's the old adage, isn't it? You know, boat speed advantage makes you look pretty famous. And for me, Luna Rossa here have a pretty big edge on the Ineos Team UK. Look, the other thing I've noticed with Luna Rossa is because of Jimmy Spittle on board, they actually operate the boat in English. And you hear Bruni talking English, and in fact all the Italian guys on board are using English for their communication on board, and I'm sure that is a conscious decision that's been made because of, I'm pretty sure that Jimmy Spittle, his Italian, would be limited.
Seabird life is in danger out there as Prada comes flying past as well. Beautiful sights of Rangitoto in the background. Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli looking sharp as they head to gate 3. Remember, we've taken one leg out of this race, or at least race director Ian Murray has decided that this will be a 5-leg race. Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli, if you've just joined us, enjoying a advantage over Ineos Team UK of almost 1.5 kilometres as they come around the third mark, and Ineos Team UK falling off the foils again.
Yeah, clear images there of a favour to this left turn again. So these guys haven't put their feet up and foot off the throttle, start bringing out the waters, chill out a bit. They're still hammer and tongs going at it. and trying to sail this course the best they can. When you're in a race like this, you've got such limited opportunities to be on this race course, so you're still racing 100%. You're trying to find every little gain you can get, and that is just all the learning they're trying to take in as much as they can on these race courses.
We spoke about it before the racing today. Jimmy Spittle already coming out and saying, you know, Team New Zealand may be the boat to beat, but we've still got months of racing to go. We're going to race through January. We're going to race through February. They've got to put the boat back in the shed and race themselves.
I think what's important also for especially Luna Rossa, in terms of on the water, boat on boat, it's pretty well all over, a little bit of a touchdown. But the other factor will be they haven't really sailed a hell of a lot on this composite course between North Head and up to Takapuna. And so this might be one of the only times that they can get out and actually sail on that course, because Ian Murray has decided, as a bit of a compromise, that he'd shift further north but not all the way to A, and really on a piece of A and a piece of B. Now, any time you can sail on a course that is not clearly illustrated in the sailing instructions, you'd say, hey, we need to get as much knowledge from that as we can.
Going on board with attack for Ineos Team UK. Let's listen in.
Oh, it's looking tough, isn't it? Again, for Ineos Team UK, looking tough. You could hear Sir Ben Ainsley saying, keep the bow up, keep the bow up.
Yeah, keep the power, let's keep building. They're still trying to build speed, so man, that package looks difficult for them.
Yeah, it's touchdown, and it just is not liking. And in terms of the wind speed, we're showing 9 knots out there at the moment, so that's still, what, 2.5 knots more than what the lower wind speed limit is. So in terms of the optimisation of the package that they've got a long way to go to get that boat to perform in the light air.
Well, at the moment, I mean, the way Team UK is going, they're not going to round gate 3 before Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli has rounded gate 4.
Yeah, they're going up to the finish now. No, they're not. They're still going downwind. My apologies.
Yeah, down to the bottom mark, and they'll come through the gate, and then they're on leg 4. So down to the bottom, then up to the top again, and it'll be upwind finish.
On board, we're certainly looking at Luna Rossa. If you've just joined us, welcome along to TVNZ's coverage of AC36. This is the Prada America's Cup World Series. Look how high out of the water Luna Rossa gets there. And a shot of the rudder too. How important that piece of technology is in keeping these boats in the water, Phil.
Yeah, they are. They're just controlling the pitch of this platform with that rudder. There's potentially constant change going down on the angle of that rudder that it's attacking the water to change the pitch of that platform. Like your tail wing on your aeroplanes. Exactly the same concept, doing exactly the same thing.
20 knots now, the boat speed of Ineos, and that is heading upwind still to round the 3rd mark. This is Luna Rossa closing in now on the 4th mark. This is the difference between these two boats. 2,500 metres now the difference.
Just looking at the rudder shot there, you can see there's a rudder tower above the rudder, above the deck, and that is the device that they use. There's a hydraulic ram in there to actually alter the rake forward and aft of the rudder blade.
Looking at throwing to Jesse.
That will mean that you can determine the flight height of the boat, and Jimmy Spittle can use that to alter the pitch of the boat as it goes downwind.
Yeah, coming into the bottom gate now, Luna Rossa Prada. Jesse, any words of wisdom out there, mate, for Ineos Team UK?
Look, everyone knows they've got a bit of work to do, and they're just sailing their own race at the moment, trying to learn as much as they can. But that's when a team's dangerous, when their backs are against the wall and they've got to find improvements. That's where they could find something magical that no one else is looking for. So don't put them, away just yet. That is when a team's dangerous. But right now, Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli coming into this bottom gate, and they are looking slick.
I tell you, they're not selling their own race, Jess, Ineos Team UK. They're in their own universe right now, and it's a universe of hurt. They have touchdown again. They cannot get up on the foils. And as we mentioned, they're coming into gate 3. This is Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli, again staying left, heading around gate 4, and now the upward beat to home.
Yeah, gate 4 going upwind. on the same leg now as Ineos Team UK. The poor guys at the top mark we're seeing before. A clear illustration of how these boats have no stability at low speeds. When the boat is stopped in the water, they are more likely to tip over and capsize as they are when they're flying at these speeds of Luna Rossa Prada right now.
Yeah, who would have ever thought we'd see a displacement boat going around a top mark in these foiling 75-foot foiling monsters, but Ineos Team UK really in the light conditions. They're not competitive, but this team are. Luna Rossa heading upwind, nice tack. I say their carbon fibre sails look absolutely superb. You can see the windows in the sail. That's just so that the helmsman, and on this tack it will be Jimmy Spittle, that he can look through there. It is a window, and look down to leeward and have a bit of visibility. One of the things on these boats is the lack of visibility for the helmsman person.
Well, we saw that yesterday, a prime example, didn't we, when Team New Zealand almost took out the mark. Phil, you're noticing something down here on the course as well.
Yeah, I am noticing that Ineos Team UK are still stuck at the top mark.
Yeah.
Luna Rossa Prada thumping it back upwind again. The lead up to 4,000 metres now. Now, this is a 3,000 metre course, okay? So they're closing in, and they are getting close to lapping these guys. If this course stayed the same length, that 8 legs instead of 4,
yeah,
I think we could be looking at a down trail and 7 times around the racecourse for Ineos Team UK.
Team UK now is only just getting up to around 20 knots. They have gone outside the boundary, so they're going to concede a penalty there as well.
I think the penalties are immaterial.
Well, it is immaterial, but it just shows that they've given up on this race, and they probably could have done that after leg 1. But what's interesting to me is what do they do now? Do they just concede this race, say we're broken, we're out? And can they do that when they've got another race to come?
Time on the racecourse is valuable. These guys are not going to be slowing down and backing off. As this image zooms out and we start looking back up to the top of that racecourse, we could slowly start to see Ineos Team UK. They are parked at the top of the racecourse doing 6 knots right now. They're stopped. The boat is dead in the water. And why is that? That is because there is not a lot of wind. It's down to about 10 knots at the top of the course, and these guys are still struggling to foil, so they're effectively mowing the lawns up there.
Protest.
Yeah,
Team UK.
That's interesting. So we'll have to wait and see what that one's about. It can't be a racing incident.
Yeah, very important to
but it looks like
I agree with you that the right looks a little bit better. Maybe not.
we're just hearing there Francesco Bruni on Luna Rossa. I wouldn't mind betting if there is a protest being lodged there, it could be a measurement type protest, or even there has been talk about the equipment on board, and that one will go.
GBR boundary penalty and cleared.
So that was about the boundary penalty.
It was about the boundary. I was just wondering whether, in fact, they were going to have a bit of a whack at some of the equipment. There has been a bit of talk in the media.
Let's go to Jesse Tuke, who's out on the water on Happy Gilmore. Just maybe we can get an insight from nearby Ineos Team UK, Jess. And that must be so disheartening for that crew.
Yeah, look, I think Ben Ainsley was just pushing every button he could there because they were going right towards the spectator fleet. They had absolutely no speed on board the boat, which meant they had no manoeuvrability, so they couldn't turn, they couldn't go through a jibe. We know how dangerous these boats are at that low speed, so they just had absolutely nothing there, and they only just managed to get that jibe in before that spectator fleet. That was really, really close.
Are they protesting with spectator fleet too close to the boundary? Have they lodged a protest around that?
Well, it'll be interesting. There may well be talk about that later, but honestly, Ineos Team UK have been very problematic today. Looking at the foil here is interesting. You can see the foil, the wing, and on the back of the wing we can see the flap. So that's the foil part. That does not adjust. The shiny bit on the back, that's very Luna Rossa-ish. That is actually adjustable. So when that's under the water, well, that's one of the devices that the trimmers will use to fly the boat. The wing controller will use that.
Looks like they've melted down every Ginsu knife they could find to make those wing foil flaps.
Yeah,
Milled
they have
steel.
it. It's looking painful on Ineos Team UK still. They're still flapping around at the top mark, trying to get that thing up and foiling and carry on down the racecourse. And I wouldn't be surprised if they keep racing, trying to maximise that time on this course. But meanwhile, Luna Rossa Prada ripping into the top. One more tack before the finish line, and then they can put their feet up, go to the beach and relax before the next one.
Well, Ineos Team UK's gone out the boundary on the other side of the course now. So one more tack from Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli, and they'll be able to cross the finish line and be pretty satisfied with their first race of the afternoon. Managed to stay on foils through that tack. Quite soft coming out. There is the finish line. Remember, it was a 6-leg race. Ian Murray, the race director, decided we're going to race 5 legs instead. So an upwind finish in this race 1 of the final day. And Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli will cross about 2 days before Ineos Team UK.
Penalty GBR,
race 1 done.
Penalty complete.
And the penalty has been completed by Team GBR, and they're heading downwind for the final time. Good start for Jimmy Spittle and the Luna Rossa crew.